Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This is the second part of our first lecture in the course Creativity in Business. In the first part, we talked about, introduced the chapter in general, which is about introduction to creativity in business. We only finished the first 2 points we have in this slide: definition of creativity and how ideas arise. Inshallah, in this part we will discuss why we study this, why creativity or creative thinking is important in general. We will introduce the concept paradigm shifts shortly, briefly, in general, characteristics of creative thinking and the skills required to be creative. While we were discussing how ideas arise, we came to some conclusions that there are some what is called paradox. Paradox, it's something and the opposite in relation to being creative. It's not clear whether creativity is like this or is like that. We thought, or we gave examples that in creative and definitions that creativity needs that a person should study hard something, do much research, think deeply. So you need to be preoccupied with the problem all the time, think about it and do research and so on. And in some other situation, and this is the opposite, if you kept yourself thinking in one thing only, okay, your mind gets stuck, right? And new ideas won't come to your mind. You need to be detached. You need to be relaxed, right? It will come to you by chance or will come to you by some inspiration. So this is a paradox, something and the opposite, preoccupied or become detached. In terms of motivation, there is a paradox as well. Having an interest in something, passionate about something, and the opposite is to be detached, not thinking about it. So this is a paradox about creativity we need to introduce as well in our discussion of creativity. Let's go to the main point of this part of the lecture, is why we are studying creative thinking, significance of creative thinking, because things became hard nowadays. Logical, classical, conventional thinking is not enough. You need to think from outside the box, as they used to say. You need creativity, you need to get inspired, you need imagination. So this is why creative thinking is important. By logical thinking, we mean this way of thinking that is organized and go through a series of steps that extent we know already. So you collect facts about something. You have a problem, and you collect facts about it, and then you do a study, a research, and then you come up with a conclusion. It's like scientific research. However, in creativity, we don't follow this. We get insights, as we see here, not by a conventional way. The thing about creativity is that you bring something that you don't have, something that you don't know from where, actually. But in logical thinking, you extend something you already have, something and you extend it a little bit further, right? So this is a big difference between creative thinking and logical thinking. Why are we studying creative thinking for business? Because in business we have lots of problems that have no precedence, as we see. Many things new. Many things are doesn't have solutions. And if they have solutions, fewer tried as solutions for them. Change is something happens every day in everything, in economics, in competition, in the market, and this turbulent, big change, fast environment we have needs creativity. You cannot deal logically with something that's or conventionally with something like that. Competition, pressure, pressure to enhance, pressure to produce new products, new processes, new market. All this need creativity, not logical thinking. We talked about business. Now we need to talk about creativity in management. In management, we mean those activities, roles that managers play to solve problems. I'm sorry, to coordinate and achieve objectives. We need creativity as well in this management, right? How managers manage their time, how managers deal with customers, how they motivate their staff. In management, in order to succeed, you need to influence your staff, your followers. How do you do that? You need new ideas. Classical ones may not work all the time. How to decrease cost, how to introduce new products. All these are great issues, big issues in management, and logical thinking in them may not be fruitful all the time. Now that we have talked about why important creativity is in business and in management, let's introduce an important term. It's called paradigm shift. Paradigm shift is a concept that has been introduced in the 60s to refer to changes, profound, revolutionary changes that haven't happened in deep concepts, settled concepts. If we think that this phenomenon works this way, and then after a while you began to suspect that this concept works because there are new observations, there are new changes. So we need new science for that. Paradigm shifts mean that regulations, rules, techniques, concepts are no longer valid for a specific area. For example, in astronomy, in nature, dealing with biotechnology or something like this. Sometimes settled theories in these areas suddenly not working, and we need to change that. These are called paradigm shifts. Paradigm shifts are not only in science, they are in business as well, and in non-science ones, in products and markets and so on. For example, changing transportation from train to airplane is a paradigm shift. Spaceships in communication, using telegraph, using telephone, and now we are using optical fiber and satellites. This is paradigm shift in communications. Why are we talking about paradigm shifts? Because we are living this nowadays. In many areas in our life, we need paradigm shifts. Paradigm shifts needs creativity. You cannot change concepts, the way you think, the theory that govern a specific area, unless you get inspired, you have imagination to introduce something that we got used to it, something traditional we have. Here a diagram that shows you that if we are talking about, we are dealing with some area, and we have problems solved like this, and we need some shift, we need some new theory, new tools, new ways in order to enhance the way we deal with it. So with time, if we have a paradigm shift here, number of problems solved get higher like this, with some deep friction like that, with time. And then after a while, we have some slow move with time, because maybe we need another paradigm shift that introduce a new theory, a new way for problem solving, and so on. In our course in creativity, we need creativity to introduce paradigm shifts, or whenever we have a paradigm shift, you need creativity to cope with it and to utilize it for new solutions. So whether we are talking about a business or we are talking about natural life in general. So this is another concept we're introducing in this chapter, paradigm shifts. Now, a new point we discussed in our lecture is about characteristics of creative thinking. If you believe in creativity is a trait, let me remind you, if creativity is a trait, we talked about it in the beginning of the chapter. If we believe that creative people are born gifted, it comes from God. So what might be the characteristics of those gifted people? Firstly, they don't have to be intelligent, right? Creativity is something a bit different than intelligence. In creativity, you are talking about somebody who can imagine something, somebody who get inspired, right? Can see things that other people don't see, as we will see that. However, by saying that, there is some minimum level of intelligence should present in a creative person. Yani, you cannot find a creative who is dumb, who's stupid, right? Because in creativity, you need a good memory, being able to think, right? So there is some minimum level of IQ here that should present in a person to be creative. Also, creative things, one of their characteristics is that they can put things together, fix things. As they say it, they are connecting dots. Yeah, if there are some observations, so they can connect one observation to another and then come up to a conclusion. If this happened today and that happened 5 years ago and then 10 years before that, and I've read something like this, if we connect this, if we combine this together, then the conclusion is like this. Creative people can do that. Close to this point is to make connection to dissimilar subjects, which is called here juxtapositions. Juxtaposition, we are talking about hypotheses together, things that contradict with each other. These are the main characteristic of creative people. They can combine opposite things. Also, as well, creative people don't reproduce previous ideas. They don't copy ideas, and no, they create something new. So they call that they are productive, not reproductive. I will give you an example for that by connecting things, having examples, get inspired. The example I'm giving here in my slides, which is taken from the textbook, for Samuel Morse, the one who invented the telegraph. He was thinking about the problem of that signals of the telegraph sent from one city to another get weak because of the length of stations are far from each others in terms of distance. So when he was watching in post offices, they are exchanged. They were sending. I mean, he noticed that in post office department, they change horses. They get new a fresh horse instead of a tired one, in order to be able to travel from one station to another. And then when horses reach this station, they give other horse and so on, in order to strengthen the ability of those. Morris used this idea to strengthen the signals. He thought about strengthening signals by some stations as well. Instead of having the signal move from city A to Z, no, we have B and C in the middle, so we can strengthen the signal from in B in order to move strong to C, and then in the end go to Z as strong as possible. But this is a creative thinking. He borrowed the idea, or could be able to use the idea to introduce something better for humanities in telegrams. I'll give you more examples, but great ones about creative people and their characteristics. A main characteristic of all creative people, if you believe creativity is a trait, is that they see things others don't see. Actually, they are blind about. And the most greatest creative people of all time, I try to bring some of them from my opinion, or the one that I got from the internet by googling them, by Isaac Newton, for example. You know, one of the greatest one who introduced motion laws about gravity, and he got inspired by an apple fell from an apple tree, right? And that led to great revolution in science about the motion laws. Although this has changed by a big paradigm shift by Albert Einstein of relativity, but we are talking about another great creative person here. He's a genius one, who challenging notions to bring new ideas. Also, as well, we have in another area Walt Disney. He's not a scientist here. We're not talking about a researcher. This person is creative because from his, or from people and children dreams, he established a great entertainment empire. We cannot forget as well in humanity Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs is the founder of Apple Macintosh, and Apple Corporation in general. Steve Jobs is a visionary person who taught us how to use information technology for personal use, to ease personal use for people in general. I hope that my discussion show us what might be the main characteristics of creative people. If we believe that creativity is something that you don't have to be born with it, so we need to talk about creative behavior as well, right? To enhance your creativity, you need always challenge the status quo. Don't accept the situation as it is. Try always to challenge, question what is happening, right? That would enhance your creativity. So this is one of the behavior of those who are gifted, who are creative persons. Always confront assumptions. Always be curious. Always look for new possibilities. Take risk. Be initiative. Imagination, actually, this is number one characteristic or behavior of creative people. Always look to the future. This is all creative peoples are future oriented. I'm sorry, I would like to emphasize the issue here that this list of behavior, number 1 and 2 and 3, actually it assumes implicitly that we are talking about creativity as a trait. Number 2, about people who exhibit creative behavior, they tend to think visually more than numerically or textually or something like this. By visually means that when they think, they have pictures in their minds. They picture things before they act. They see possibilities. They take risk, and this is we talked about in the previous slide when we were talking about being initiative. They make mistakes, they accept mistakes, they learn from their mistakes, right? Because they experiment, they try. Whenever you experiment, try, you will make mistakes. Those people who do not like making mistakes will not create anything. They adapt, they accept changes in circumstances and deal with it. They see relationships between things. These lists of behaviors, we are talking about them briefly, but they may take lots of examples, and I would recommend you read the text. Read the text and you'll find lots of examples. Let's complete the list of behavior of creative people. They distill unusual ideas down to their underlying principles. I mean, they analyze and think about the ideas and see what assumptions and principles behind these ideas. They don't take ideas slightly. They think about them. They synthesize, yani put together elements, right? As if they are tailoring something. They spot patterns. These things that repeat themselves and have something logical. They are able to cope with different things, opposite things, which is called paradoxes here. They look beyond the first right eyes. You know, those people who are not creative, they always look for the first idea, right? The first easy one. However, creative people, they don't settle with the first idea. They think about the second and the third, and they think more in other ones. They always believe that there will always be a better one, a better ideas. They are also as well other behavior we always see, or we may see, in creative persons. Another point we need to introduce, or I would like to introduce in our chapter here, is the abilities. What abilities may present in creative people? Abilities here are it's like skills that you may develop in yourself. You don't have to be creative to get these abilities. You may develop them. You may get trained or get courses or something like this. So here we have 4 classical abilities for creative persons. أول حاجة هنا, the first thing is fluency. Fluency means that whenever you have something to think about, you can come up with many ideas, right? So in creativity training, we may have something called brainstorming. In brainstorming, we learn how to come up with many ideas. They don't have to be good ones, right? But we are training ourselves in being fluent in thinking. Flexibility means that we have ideas that from different areas that cope with different situations. Elaboration is another area. It's different than the first two. In fluency and flexibility, we may have many ideas, but shallow ones, weak ones. In elaboration, we are talking about how we take an idea and think deep in this idea and come up with something detailed in these ones. Also, the main ability, which is a little bit trait more than an activity or a practice, is originality. Originality means that it's something completely new, novel, and unique. Not copying, not imitating, and so on. So in abilities, a little bit toward the other meaning of creativity. It's people can be taught, encouraged, and coached how to be creative, right? It's against the other idea that creative people are born like this. No, احنا هنا we say that no, they don't have to be born creative, but they can be taught. They can develop their skills. Let's complete with the idea of creativity being taught and developed. What skills احنا we may develop to be creative? You may have training courses to develop your skills in imagination, visual one, auditory and kinesthetic creativity that allows to express ideas and feelings by applying your imagination to produce unique creations. You may have courses in imagination like this. You may not be born imaginative, but there are skills in imagination that can be developed. Literary, creative people, they can talk. You can learn how to write a poem while you are not a poet, right? شاعر يعني. Writing a short story or a play. Skills as well in creativity, how to be social, how to deal with a group, communication, how to get involved in a program to provide services to others. That would make you social. Being social is skills, creativity skills as well. How to innovate and using other ideas to be applied in a different area, right? It's not creativity here, it's not idea for the first time. So in innovation we are developing our skill to use information from a variety of different sources to create unique solution to a problem, right? It's not a new one, it's not original one, right? Let's complete the skills. We have aesthetics, using sense of beauty. Aesthetic ذوق. يعني احنا هنا creative people, they can see beauty, they can judge how nice things are. Beauty in colors, beauty in designs, beauty in music, in sounds, and so on. Visualization skills, creating mental image of an object or an idea, right? This is important in creativity in designs. Designing, creating plans for a new project or product, and this is another area in business, in designing plans and charts and sets of actions, plans, and so on. Judging, when we make decision, you need to develop skills about judging. Judging is to come up with a conclusion about situation, using discrimination skills in sound, color, and shape to determine differences. In business احنا دي important in decision making skills. Being energetic, one important thing in creativity skill is to be energetic, especially if you would like to create something in research. You need to be persistent, you need to be hard work in order to come up with something new in science, for example, or in research engineering. That's all for chapter 1 in our course, Creativity in Business, which is about introduction. This chapter is about introduction and the importance of creativity in business.